Hi, this is Dawn from Ninja Bunny Crochet. I have another cat toy to show you how to do. This is a Jingle Cat toy. I have done 3 different examples here. One is in a straight half double crochet changing colors. The other one is in this different kind of a textured stitch, and the other one is in a bobble stitch. I made these using worsted weight yarn, and I used a, let me get my hook here, I used a G or a 4.0 millimeter hook, a paper towel or a toilet paper roll. If you don't want to use a toilet paper roll because you don't think that that is appropriate, you can take a paper towel roll and cut it down to size. And you will need a pair of scissors and also a yarn needle and some jingle bells. I used about 3 jingle bells in each toy. You can see them. And they each have a little tail on them. Now, I make these to donate to my local animal shelter, just like I do with the other toys that I was showing you in the other videos. So these do not have any catnip in them because catnip is inappropriate for the shelter environment. It's just not a good thing for cats while they're in the shelter. However, if you want to make these for your own cats, you could put a little bit of polyfill in them, put some catnip in there, and then put a little bit of more polyfill in there. That way it doesn't come out, it doesn't work its way out of the ends. Today I'm going to show you how to make this one on the end, the striped pattern. If you're interested in the other 2 patterns, I'll put a link in the description box below to the written pattern, and you can purchase that. It's a PDF. You can purchase that over at my Etsy store if you're interested in either of the other 2 patterns. So let's get started on making this jingle toy. To start the jingle toy, we're going to start with a magic ring. How I do a magic ring is I lay the yarn over my index finger and my middle finger and lock it down with my thumb, wrap the yarn around my fingers, and form an X on the back of my fingers. Take your hook and grab the bottom yarn, under the bottom yarn, turn it over, grab the top yarn, pull it through, and twist. Grab your working yarn and make a chain stitch. That secures the ring, and now we can begin making 8 single crochets into the center of the ring. Once you have your 8 single crochets, grab the small tail and cinch it closed. Then slip stitch into the first single crochet that you made. Now we can start round 2. Chain 1 and place 2 single crochets back into the same stitch that you just slip stitched into. Place 2 single crochets into each stitch around, or you're going to single crochet increase into each stitch. Continue this all the way till you get back to the beginning, and I'll meet up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 2. I have 16 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. chain 1, and place a single crochet back into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and 2 single crochets or a single crochet increase into the next stitch, and a single crochet into the next stitch and an increase into the next stitch. And this will be the repeat all the way around. Single crochet into the next stitch and an increase into the next. Please repeat this all the way around to get back to the beginning. I'm at the end of round 3. We have 24 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. We're done increasing. To start round 4, we're going to chain 2. Does not count as a stitch. We're going to half double crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. Then we're going to half double crochet into the back loops only for this round. We're going to half double crochet in each stitch, back loop only, just so that you can see. Here is the front loops right here, front loop, and here is the back loop. So we're going to go into the back loops only. I know this yarn is a little difficult to see the loops. So back loop only, we're going to half double crochet into each stitch. So please continue this all the way around to get back to the beginning, and I'll meet up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 4. I still have 24 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet. Be careful not to slip stitch into that chain 2, into the top of the first half double crochet. Now for round 5, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to half double crochet in each stitch around. Again, at the end of this round, we're going to change colors. And this time we're also going through both loops. Only round 4 is in the back loop only. So please continue half double crocheting in each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round where we're going to change colors. I'm at the end of round 5. I still have 24 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we made, but we're going to change colors. So we're going to drop our orange and we're going to pick up our multicolor. Now it's up to you if you want to tie off or fasten off the orange at this point. What I'm going to do is I leave it hanging because we're going to pick it back up again. And we're going to chain 1 with the new color and just pull these snug. Actually, we're going to chain 2, I apologize, with the new color. For row 6 and 7, we're going to be doing half double crochet in each stitch around. So row 6 and row 7 are going to be exactly the same. So we do a half double crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And don't worry if this loosens up a little bit, this last stitch, you can just tug on this end and it'll tighten right back up again. And then we're going to half double crochet into each stitch around. So row 6 and row 7, or round 6 and round 7, are exactly the same. At the end of round 7, we're going to pick up the orange color again, So if you can please continue and do round 6 and then one more row for round 7, I'll meet up again with you at the end of round 7. I'm at the end of round 7. We have 24 stitches still. What we're going to do this time is we're going to drop the multicolor and we're going to pick up the orange. These little tails out of the way. Slip stitch into the first half double crochet that we made, and now we have our orange yarn on our hook. Chain 2 and half double crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and half double crochet in each stitch around. Round 8 and round 9 are going to be exactly the same, and they're going to be done in the orange. I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 9. I'm at the end of round 9, still have 24 stitches. We're going to drop the orange and pick up our multicolor. Let's get all these little ends out of the way. Slip stitch into the first stitch that we made, there we go, and chain 2. Now 10 and 11 are going to be in the multicolor. At the end of row 11, you're going to drop the multicolor and pick up your orange and finish row 12 and 13. So again, 10 and 11 are in the multicolor. Row 12 and 13 are in the orange. I will meet back up with you at the end of row 13 when you finish with the orange. So start off with your first half double crochet and half double crochet in each stitch around. And 11 and 12, excuse me, 10 and 11 will be in the multicolor. 12 and 13 will be in the orange. And I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 13. I'm at the end of round 13. I have 24 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet that we made and fasten off. Okay, now we can turn it inside out so that we can deal with all these little ends that we have. First end we're going to deal with is the one from the magic ring. So this one, just thread up your yarn needle and make sure you pull it tight so it's closed, and just go back and forth a few times over the end of the magic ring to make sure it's closed up nice and tight, and it's sewn shut. Now, because this is on the inside of the toy and it won't be seen, I don't even bother clipping that off. Now for these two long ends, you can weave them in under a couple of stitches so that it doesn't come unraveled. Just weave it under a few stitches. Just grab a couple of different fibers when you go back and forth. And again, because this is going to be on the inside and there's going to be also a paper towel or a toilet paper roll on it, I don't really bother clipping it off. I mean, you can if you like to, but there really isn't a need to clip. There really isn't. It's not necessary. I just weave them under just to be sure, you know, just rather be safe than sorry that they're not going to unravel the toy. And we can just turn it right back out. Oh, wait a minute. This end here, we need to do something with this end as well. So we can, this end we're going to want to clip off though. So this top end, you can just weave that under a few stitches. Now, you could just leave it loose in there too, because honestly, it's really not going to matter. You can clip it off, or you can just leave it loose and leave it hanging in there, because again, it's not really going to matter, because you're going to slip this paper towel, this toilet paper roll in there like this. And those, as you can see right down in there, it's really not going to matter whether those ends are there or not. So now we can set this aside, and we're going to start making the top piece to come over, the top piece to cover it, and the bottom tail. And to start the bottom tail, you're going to want to chain 30. You can do this with either color. I'm going to do it with the multicolor, but you could do it with the orange if you'd like. It doesn't make any difference which color you do it with. Once you have your chain of 30, go to the bottom of the chain and count up 10 chains. Place a stitch marker in that 10th chain. It doesn't have to be one of these like fancy plastic ones. You can use just a piece of yarn or a paper clip or just anything just to mark that stitch so you know where to stop with your double crochets. In your 4th chain from hook, you're going to want to place 2 double crochets. This is very similar to working the curly cat toy. It's a slightly different stitch count, but it's basically the same thing. Then you're going to put 3 double crochets in each one of these stitches till you reach the one right before the mark stitch. So for the next 15 stitches, you're going to be placing 3 double crochets in each one of these stitches. When you come to the stitch marker, take it out, and in the remaining 10 stitches, place 1 single crochet. When you get to the end, just fasten off. And it should curl up. Now, get your toy, and you're going to thread up the ends into your yarn needle. Now my ends are not even, so I'm going to clip mine off so that they're even, because it'll be easier to thread them into the yarn needle. Get them into your yarn needle and put them into the bottom of your toy. So pull them through the bottom of the toy. Might be a little tough to get them in. There, just like that. Pull both ends through. Take it off the yarn needle and tie them in a knot so that it won't pull back through. Just like that. You might want to work them under some stitches too, just to make sure it stays in there nice and tight. You can just work the ends under a few stitches. That way it won't come out. Same with the other end. Sorry, I hope you can see what I was doing. I apologize if I went off camera a little bit there. Just work it under a few stitches. Just like that. That's why I don't normally weave ends on camera. There, just like that. And you can just leave these loose, or you can cut them off however you want to. I just leave them in there because, like I said, it doesn't really matter because they're going to be covered up. You can insert your paper towel or your toilet paper roll. And don't worry if it doesn't go all the way up to the top, because when we make the top piece and we sew it together, you're going to stretch it so that it will close. But there's that. And you can just drop in a few bells and just set this aside because we're going to make the top piece. Just how we started the toy, we're going to start again with a magic ring to make the top or the bottom, however you want to call it. So we're going to make a magic ring. And if you're not sure how to do the magic ring, you can always back up the video and see how I made it in the beginning. So we're going to place 8 single crochets into the magic ring, just like we did in the beginning. And cinch up your ring. Pull a little more yarn out here. Slip stitch into that first single crochet. Chain 1 and place 2 single crochets into the same stitch you just slip stitched into. Basically, we're just making another circle like we did in the beginning. And 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around till you get back to the beginning. Continue this to get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 2 and I have 16 single crochets. We're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made and chain 1. And we're going to single crochet back into that same stitch and 2 single crochets or a single crochet increase into the next. So 1 single crochet, then a single crochet increase. And this is the repeat pattern all the way around. 1 single crochet and a single crochet increase, or 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So please repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 3. I have 24 single crochets, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made, and we're going to fasten off. Make sure you leave a long tail to sew with. Don't forget to sew in your magic ring, which I've already done that. And now we're going to be ready to sew this to the top of our jingle toy, like this. So we're going to thread up our yarn needle. And I like to keep the both places where I fasten off in the same spot. So I kind of just make sure that those 2 places are the same. Make sure you get that tail and tuck it inside, just like that. And how I do this so that it matches the other side is I only use the front loop of the top. I go through the front loop, but I go through both loops of the side. So that way it'll have that little ridge just like it has on the bottom. Sorry if you couldn't see what I was doing there. So I pull it tight. Again, go through the front loop on the top piece and both loops on the side piece. And make sure you're matching it stitch for stitch. And this will stretch up. So even if you have to just grab it and kind of pull it up, it will stretch. And just keep sewing around until you have it completely closed. So as you can see, I have this completely closed up, and it stretches rather nicely, so it has a nice snug fit over the paper, over the toilet paper roll. I like to have a nice tight fit because that way it doesn't slide around on the paper towel or the toilet paper roll. It fits nice and tight. Especially if you were going to put catnip or anything like that in it, it helps keep it from slipping out. So now you can just slide this under a few stitches and go ahead and fasten it off. I like to pull it under just back and forth a couple of times to make sure it's not gonna come back out. Just like so. And then we can just snip that off. And your toy is all done. It's completed. ready for the kitties to play with. So if you've liked this tutorial, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that bell so you won't miss any of my tutorials. And thanks for watching. Happy crocheting! Bye-bye!